What is going on, guys? Radies here, and if you haven't already noticed, I'm uploading a lot more frequently. So if you're new around here, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell so you never miss a video. In this video, I'm going to tell you guys and girls if you should be reading a book a week. So if you guys can see my shelf back over there, I read a lot of books, okay? I have, I believe, around 80, I think, last time I counted, it was like somewhere around 80 self-development books. And I'm currently reading a book a week again. And I've read a book a week for multiple months before. I've read books sometimes like once a month, and I've done a lot of reading, okay? So I'll give you guys a bit of like my, I guess, timeline and history with reading, and then I'll tell you if I think you should read a book a week. I'll tell you what I plan on doing in the future, and hopefully from there you can make your own opinion and see what you want to do, because I do also agree and believe in everyone should experiment themselves and see what works for them, because just because I read a book a week doesn't mean, you know, you should too. But yeah, let me get into my experience and tell you guys what I think and how I go about things. Okay, so my first book I ever read was Rich Dad Poor Dad. Of course, obviously, who hasn't read that book first? That's like the gateway drug to entrepreneurship, finance, investing, all that stuff, right? So that was my first ever book I read in 2018, and I read that book probably in like 2 to 3 months, because I was still in school while I was reading it, so I didn't really like, you know, take things seriously, take life seriously, I guess. I was still in high school. So after I read that book, I started to read more and more and more, and I think my second book was The Wealthy Barber. I could be wrong, I don't know, but yeah, after that, I slowly started to read a bit more and more and more. I was like, oh my god, there's so much value in books, right? Like, think about like the best book you've ever read, or whether it's Rich Dad Poor Dad or whatever, 4 Hour Work Week, whatever that book is. Imagine how much value and how much new insights you took away from just one book. So to me, I was kind of like, okay, like this is an important activity. I need to make this a part of my work. Like, I classify reading as work. And I classify self-development as work as well. And like I talk a lot about that in my Seeking Success course, which, you know, link in bio if you want to enroll into that. But a lot of my like reading habits come from me prioritizing it as work. Like, to me, reading is essential. It's crucial. It's very important, because without me reading, I'm not going to be able to progress in life. So after kind of understanding that, I decided to read a bit more and more and more. So what I started to do was, I believe in like 2019, I was reading like 2 books a month. Sometimes I would maybe read like a book a week, but I never really had like a routine, or like it wasn't really a habit. I would just read as I please, read whenever I wanted to. So sometimes I would read a book a month, sometimes it'd be one every 3 weeks, one every 2 weeks, one every week. I never really had a schedule. I just kind of read as I went on, right? So I did something that I recommend everyone do, is at the end of 2019, I looked through everything I did that year, and I kind of, like in a way, like not like split test, like how you split test Facebook ads, but like I would kind of just like, you know, get feedback and kind of see how everything went. So how did I operate in business? How was my social media? How was my meditation habit? How was my reading habit? How was everything that I did? What was good, what was bad, what should I do more of, and what should I do less of, right? So that was kind of like my yearly recap. And after doing that was when I figured out, okay, reading is actually very, very important to me. It has helped me out a lot. I've learned a lot. So I thought, okay, if reading is very good, why don't I force myself to read a book a week? Why don't I make it a habit? And, you know, again, like I talk about how to form habits in my course and all that stuff, but I won't get into that in this video. But I knew that I needed to make it a habit. So I decided, okay, you know what? I'll make it a habit. Why not make it a habit? And I decided, okay, I'm going to read a book a week in 2020. And obviously 2020, the crazy year that it is, you know, a lot of things going on. But I stuck with it for pretty much until quarantine happened. After quarantine happened, I kind of lost focus in like all aspects of my life. And I kind of like I was kind of like, you know, going like in a gray, like incline. And then quarantine hit, and I was kind of just like, boom, I was stuck, I was stagnant. I kind of just dropped down, and I just continued to move along. Again, business-wise, quarantine was great, but like habits-wise, reading-wise, meditation-wise, I completely stopped. So I was reading a book a week, and here's what I noticed. When you're reading a book a week, you're able to retain a lot of information, right? Like, let's just say, for example, you read, the average person, let's just say, reads, again, just as an example, reads a book a month. You're literally reading 4 times more than them. And the information you're able to get out of it is insane. But again, remember, you need to make it a habit and put time into reading these books. You can't just read a book and not properly take in the information, right? So me, I like to think I'm a pretty fast reader. I can clear through a book a week, like no problem, by just reading like less than an hour a day. And again, am I able to remember every single detail in every single book? No. But the way I look at it is if I can take one thing away from a book, one significant thing, I'm happy, I'm content with it. There'll be some times as well where I'm reading a book and I don't finish the whole book, or I skim through it. And here's one thing I've noticed. After reading 80 books in the personal development, finance, mindset, like niche, I'm reading a lot of the things over and over again. So the same principles I'm reading over and over again. And for me, it's hard to find new concepts out of books nowadays. And it's kind of like a love-hate relationship I have now with books, because I love to read because, again, I know how much value there is in books, but at the same time, sometimes I'll be reading a book and I'll be like, okay, like I haven't learned anything new yet, and I'm like halfway through the book. So I'll start skimming or I'll start speed reading. And again, depending on where you are in your like book reading journey or whatever you want to call it, you might have just read like 2 books your whole life, and like you might read a book that I kind of skimmed through, or you might you might be blown away by a book that I'm kind of just like, okay, like I've already heard this stuff before, right? And people who have read a lot of books, you'll kind of notice this pattern that I'm noticing, where a lot of the things, it's the same thing over and over and over again. So what does that mean for me moving forward? For me moving forward, I'm going to continue to read a book a week until the end of 2020, or I might slow down, I'm not 100% sure, but I want to read as much as possible before 2020 ends. But what am I going to be doing in 2021? So I've already kind of made this decision. In 2021, I only want to read like 20 books. So obviously that's like half of what I would have read this year. And the reason behind that is I want to reread a few books, because so far I've never read a book twice. All the books I've read, I've only read them once. So what I want to do is I want to make a list of the best books and my favorite books, as well as a few new books, and I want to literally like properly dissect those and read those in 2021. So for example, like off the top of my head, just a few books that I can think of. I want to read Rich Dad Poor Dad again. I want to read Think and Grow Rich. I want to read The Power of Now. And I want to read A New Earth. What else can I think of off the top of my head? I can like probably just look around and see. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Like those 6 right there, I want to read again. And I want to literally properly dissect it and literally just like properly consume it, to the point where like I'm reading maybe like 10 pages a day, but I know every single word I've read in those 10 pages, right? So I'm not going to be speed reading through them. And I think for me personally, where I'm at in my life journey, this is a way for me to properly read. Here's another thing that I kind of hate about books. Like, okay, so I've obviously written a book. Go check it out on Amazon. It's also called Seeking Success. No, it's on my course. I also do have a course about it. But my book, it's very short. It's to the point. I self-published this book, but a lot of these big books, they're not self-published, and they have to have a certain amount of words for publishers to sign a book deal with them. So what you may notice is there's a lot of fluff in these books, and the reason for that is because, again, you have to have fluff in these books for it to be published. So are books the most effective ways of consuming content? Probably not, but I do think they're very important. So moving forward, what I'm probably going to be doing more of is taking courses, hiring mentors and coaches, as well as podcasts and YouTube videos. Like I feel like those 5 will be what I consume more of, as opposed to books. Where before it would be the opposite way. I'd be consuming more books than podcasts or courses, whatever. But I do want to do like more courses now, because I'm finding I can learn more deliberately, and I'm more like intentional on what I'm learning, as opposed to a book. Obviously, yeah, like I'll know this book is about mindset, but what am I really going to learn? I don't know. As opposed to a course, if I'm taking a course on, how to be more present in life, I know exactly the outcome I'm going to get out of that. So that's just kind of my thinking. I don't want to continue to ramble on, but that's pretty much what I think about, books and my whole thing on reading a book a week. If you do want to learn, how I go about the whole habit of building, like a habit of reading, like if you want to learn how I built the habit of reading a book a week, just comment down below and I'll make it a video, or send me a DM or something. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, by the way. That's where I'm posting a lot of behind the scenes stuff. But other than that, that's pretty much it for today. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you leave a like, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Thanks and goodbye.